Hello, stampers and scrappers. Suzanne here today to talk about stretching, a close to my heart workshop to get more layouts when you don't necessarily want the cards or other items that they've included. I'm using this Heart Happy workshop from 2019 as an example. Hey, the theme is still current, so why not? I only bought the paper pack and the sticker sheet on sale, I think. So I don't have some of the other items in the workshop kit, like this stamp set or some shimmer trim. Close to My Heart does both scrapbooking and card making workshops. Sometimes they will do a single workshop for a paper line that contains both. You can download all the workshops to see the instructions prior to purchase. That's true except for when Close to My Heart is planning a Facebook Live event. In that case, the workshop directions are available only a day or two before the event. Okay, let's get started stretching this kit from 4 pages and cards and stuff into more. The first obvious thing I want to share is that we're only going to cut the pieces we need for the layouts. Duh, right? Second, and most critical to success of the first principle is you want to mark those before you even start cutting them. Ask me how I know. Close to My Heart usually starts by cutting the zip strips. And I agree with that, but I resist the snip temptation to cut these smaller pieces right away. You can tell by the measurements, like 4 or 5¼ inches, that they're often meant for cards. So I maintain the full 12 inches until I'm ready to place them on the layout. Here was the cut apart sheet showing the pieces that you cut out, and I did all of those. Then moving to the first of the pattern papers. I circled the ones I would need, and then you can see I also put a vertical line here just to let me know that I was not going to need anything to the right of that line. So I was going to end up with a great big scrap that was 12 inches wide. Maintaining that 12-inch width or height of a paper goes for all of my cutting. That's a primary goal. If you are cutting more than one sheet like you did here, depending on what you were going to do, you could figure out whether or not you might be able to also get these out of this sheet and save yourself from cutting this one at all. Okay, over here, you may be able to see that I just made myself a note that I knew I was going to turn layout 3, which was a single, into a double. So I just made myself a note to cut this same piece twice. Here are 2 sheets where the only thing they wanted you to cut is this 1/2 inch by 12 strip. Well, to me, since I'm not needing these other pieces for card, that seemed very wasteful. Instead, I plan to substitute zip strips for that, and that will leave me with both of these pieces still intact at 12 by 12. On cardstock, you can always go and check your scraps to see if you have anything that you can use to save yourself some paper there. The other thing I want to tell you about is to always be on the lookout for sneaky little pieces. Close to My Heart does a pretty good job with their cutting directions as far as maximizing your paper, but they're not perfect, and their objective is different if they're also cutting cards. So be on the lookout for what I call sneaky little pieces. Can you see that there? I need these 2 pieces, but I don't need all of this, and then stuck over here in the corner, I need this little piece. So I figured out how I could get this piece from down here. So again, that gives me more 12 by 12 paper, the full width or length. Okay? All right, let's start looking at layouts. Here's the first one, which they had done as a double. Here is mine. Okay. As you can see, I did this pretty much as they had laid it out. I did add an extra cluster here of the candy because I wanted candy in 3 spots across the page. Also, I did not have the shimmer trim, so I used this pretty white close to my heart ribbon. And then I added a bow here to tie in with the ribbon. Haha, putty me. Also, you'll notice under here, this would have been one of those zip strips that they wanted me to cut just a little bit out of, but I ended up being able to get it out of a scrap of pattern paper. So there's that. Easy peasy right off the bat. Okay. Next, let's go to layout number 2. Give you a little bit of a close-up of that. I love this 12 by 12 paper. I think that is just so eye-catching. And this happened to be one of those where they had wanted me to take that 1/2-inch strip, but since I did not do that, I still had 2 full pieces of this paper to use, which was great. The things I did like about this layout is I like the flower, the cutout flower here, but I wasn't really big on all these little pictures or this gal pal galentine theme. Let me show you how I adapted this and turned it into a 2-pager. Here you go. Okay, I really love this idea of these tone-on-tone strips. This is pretty easy to replicate with a different kind of paper too. You can always use washi tape or ribbon for those, or you could even just take cardstock and stamp it. Might I suggest maybe close to my heart's February Doodle Border stamp set? Isn't this cute? I love that little washi tape stamp too. The stamp of the month is available each month. This is February's, as I said, with a $50 purchase. If you're a VIP, you can get it free for that same $50 purchase. Okay, back to the layout. As you can see, I used larger photos, or plan to use larger photos. This looks a little redundant, white on white, but you can be sure when you put your photos down, they are really going to pop against that white background. I used the other cut flower also. This one had been on the 3rd layout of Close to My Heart's directions. So I moved it here, and then I looked for a couple of labels that I thought went together. These were cut aparts also. All things grow with love, and do small things with great love. And if you do that, you certainly deserve this big heart award, don't you? I really, really liked how this page turned out as a double, don't you? You can fit quite a lot of photos on there. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is their 3rd. Let me give you a little bit of a close-up of that. And what I loved about this was this blue and white paper and how it looked nice with the blue dotted paper. Okay, this is on white cardstock, but I went to see what kind of papers I still had left in my stash, or from this pack, I should say. And I found that I had 2 of these wonderful grid papers. Aren't those nice? Now, these had these banners hanging down from the top left, and they also came up from the bottom right of both pages. That's what made me flip to the bottom, the striped paper, and then I just added a couple of zip strips to give me enough height to be able to cover those banners. If you look real close, you might also notice these are the same paper, but they are not the exact same size. It is not perfectly symmetrical. That's because I chose to use what was already cut rather than cutting into a full sheet to get the exact right size paper. And as you can see, it doesn't really matter. Symmetrical doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. To bring in some of the mint color into the center, I decided to matte just a couple of the photos. I like that kind of highlights these without making it chunky like you've got 4 of them going across the paper. I also added some extra banners up here on pop dots to give it just a little bit more dimension. I added arrows here and here and here to bring that to both sides. And then for the last touch of dimension are these white acrylic hearts from Close to My Heart. Aren't those great? I think this page turned out really fantastic. Now, of course, I said you could really, save yourself even more pattern paper, and you would have had both of these sheets left, the grid and this pretty pink pattern. So that's another thing to consider. But at this point, I was really starting to run low on stickers and embellishments, so I decided that I was glad I went the way I went. All right, that is the last of the ideas that Close to My Heart gave us for layouts in the workshop. So now I still had paper left, so I was looking for an idea. I started browsing the Close to My Heart blog and found back in May this Magic Moments Patterns. And this is meant for a 2-page layout, and it gives you all the cutting directions. And as you can see from you really just need a couple of pattern paper. Well, they say 3, but of course you can see what they did here, 1/2-inch strips. So to me, that is clearly going to be using zip strips. Okay, so with just a couple of patterns, let's see what we can make. I still had a full sheet of this blue and white striped paper, so I decided I was going to use that as my base. I thought about using white card base to go with it, but then I decided on this light Carolina blue. And the reason I wanted to use that is I wanted it to tie in with this paper scrap here that I used, this pretty floral. Oh, wait, just a cotton pickin' minute. This floral is not from Heart Happy. No, this is from the current Perfect Match workshop in February of this year. Isn't that a pretty paper? Let me give you a closer look. Gorgeous, don't you think? All right, I had some scraps of that sitting around because I'd already started on some other projects, and you'll get to see a little bit of that in my next video. Okay, what else had I had done? Well, it's just a matter of getting, repeating the patterns on both pages. Over here, this actually should have been blue dot, but since I decided to use blue dot to sort of give a little weight to my title area here, look what I did instead. I took the blue cardstock. Get the right way. I took the blue cardstock, as you can see there, and I used that doodle stamp set. See, I do practice what I preach. So there you go. I think it turned out super cute. The finishing touches on here are a couple of black stickers that I had in my stash, and these pink and gold hearts I also had in my stash, but honestly, I think these would look even better with the pink acrylic hearts that Close to My Heart sells. Okay, so there you have it. 4 double layouts from one pattern pack. At that point, of course, I did have still just a few of the leftovers left, and I just decided to get rid of those. I will post photos of all the layouts on the blog so that you can study them further and look at them up close and see. If you are looking for a Close to My Heart consultant, I hope you will consider me. There are links in the sidebar of my blog, and you will find all my other contact information there, as well as on my Facebook page, and maybe Facebook is where you actually saw this video. Thanks for watching, and come back soon, and you can see what I did with Close to My Heart's Perfect Match line. Bye-bye.